Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Sally Barker shot to fame on The Voice on the BBC, but she's been at it for years. She's got a brand new album out on the 22nd of September. And I'm delighted to say she joins us on the phone now. How are you?
Hello, yes, I'm fine. Thank you very much, yes.
So nice to talk to you. I'm just up the road in Nottingham. You're down there in Leicester. And you've been at this forever. And you can tell. What I loved about you on The Voice was the fact that you're so confident, it's so effortless, and your tone is so perfect. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I suppose that's the result of having done it for such a long time, I guess.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You can't buy that confidence. And what bothers me about shows like X Factor and The Voice is people can come off the street who have never stood in front of an audience. And it is terrifying, isn't it? It's okay when it's going well, but if anything goes wrong, you need that experience to deal with it.
Well, I have to say that so much has gone wrong for me in the past. I mean, I've played in front of thousands. I've played in front of just two people at a gig and had to get on with it. I've had strings broken on my guitar. I've had microphones be dysfunctional. I've fallen over. I've made a complete arse of myself quite a few times. So I think if anything like that had happened on The Voice, I probably would have dealt with it. But strangely enough, nothing happened like that. It all went swimmingly.
And that's what I noticed about you on The Voice, that you looked so comfortable. Was your heart still going 10 to the dozen, or were you as confident as you appeared?
A bit like a swan. I was thrashing away quite a lot underneath. I was nervous. I can't deny it. I was actually nervous. On some occasions, I was more nervous than other occasions. Mm. But I just seem to have this ability to create a mask and to just get on with the job. And that, like I say, has come through bitter experience, really.
And again, that sound that you create through your voice, I don't think you can be trained. It's something you're born with. I'm guessing you sounded similar when you were 14 as you did when you were 24, as you now are at 34.
Well, I'm 54, but it was very kind of you to say that I was 34. I always had the voice, but its pitch has dropped as I've grown older. So I've lost a couple of high notes and gained a couple of low notes. But I think there's something to be said for the craft. Yeah. And I think maybe I was perhaps wouldn't have sung so effortlessly when I was 14. Maybe at 24, maybe at 34, maybe at 44, and at 54 definitely. I've settled into who I am, and I try to be myself. I don't try to sound like anybody else.
A mate of mine does warm-up for The Voice, and he always talks about how much energy there is in the room. For you as the performer, was that exciting or terrifying? Because it's very different to walking out on a folk stage in the middle of Whitby somewhere, isn't it?
A stage is a stage is a stage, I always think. Before I walked out at the blind auditions, I was nervous as I walked up the steps. As soon as I hit the stage, I thought, yeah, this is it. And I loved it. And I think that comes from having trod the boards for so long. You hit the stage and you think, this is where I belong. This is what I should be doing. Having an audience in front of you who are there to enjoy themselves, frankly, and also have been warmed up so brilliantly. Yeah. I didn't realise he was a mate of yours. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, the way he got the crowd going, got them excited for what was about to happen.
Yeah, it's so important for a show like that because they've got to be behind you before you start, because they're then giving you a head start to your act, which on that show, of course, is more important. And what, of course, is great is that The Voice is about the voice, obviously, and not about the appearance. Once, though, they'd seen you, they seemed to love you even more. And you were sort of the last bastion of those reality shows where somebody who's over 24 can be a big hit and make it to the final. There must be a great pride for you that you did that.
Yeah, I was in it for exposure. I didn't really expect to win it. I didn't really expect to get as far as I did. So I just loved it the whole time along. I just thought, well, I'm just going to try and get through the next stage. But my focus in doing it was not to, basically not necessarily to win it. It was just to enjoy the process And if I didn't enjoy the process, I was going to just leave.
It can be risky, though. A friend of mine who is probably one of the biggest stars in the West End went on there and died on her arse, didn't even get through the auditions, and was basically humiliated by the nation by being kicked off. Did that ever worry you, that it could go wrong and they could just laugh at you and then it could backfire?
Well, I think one of the things about being on stage is that you've had so many things go wrong. It didn't cross my mind that I'd be humiliated. What did cross my mind was that maybe people wouldn't like what I do and who I am. And if that's the case, then that's fine. I didn't expect that people would love me, but I didn't expect people would hate me either. I just thought there'd be, an air of indifference.
Right.
I didn't really worry about that. I think if I'd have died on my arse on television, I'd have recovered from it. I don't have that sort of problem, really. It is what it is. If people don't like it, that's fine. I'd have moved on. I may have been singing as a part-time thing, and I may have gone on and got another job, a different sort of job.
Right.
But as it was, people seemed to like me, and it's helped me get bums on seats, and which was the bottom line for me. When I go out and do a gig now, people will turn up, whereas before it was quite difficult to get more than a handful of people.
It's interesting. I find it almost depressing that there are so many talented people across the country who can't find an audience. And really, the only vehicle for you to find that audience is these type of shows, isn't it? And then we look at your choice of song. And Dear Darling, I think, was probably the biggest success you did. And quite unlikely, really, isn't it? Was that choice yours, or did somebody suggest that for you?
So Tom chose that for the song I had as the battle song. Well, I sang it with Talia in my second appearance on the telly. And it was the only modern or up-to-date song that I was given or personally chose. So that was a really interesting song for me. And when I was first presented with it, I didn't actually know the song. Bizarre though that may seem, I don't listen to pop radio. I don't listen to, Ollie Murs. I didn't really know who Ollie Murs was. And so after I'd sung the song, I thought, well, it's a nice little pop song. And then it grew on me, and it's now become part of my act, and I'm singing it.
It's ironic, isn't it, that a guy that made his name from nowhere on a reality show has helped you after a career in show business to make your name on a reality show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting observation.
It is. And again, when we look at the band on that show, one of the things that I think makes it better than the rest is the fact that you're working with a live band. And of course, that's your forte, isn't it? You've been very lucky through your career to work with some incredible musicians. Was that thrilling for you to find a band of that quality at the BBC?
Absolutely fantastic. And there were periods when, I remember in some rehearsals, you'd have a choreographer telling you where to stand and where to go, and always you were remote from the band. I'm not used to that. I'm used to being, if I'm working with musicians, I like to be amongst them. Right. I think of myself as a musician, not as a celebrity or not as a star or anything. I think of myself as one of them. And there was one rehearsal where I kept walking over to the band and trying to make eye contact with them, and they're smiling at me, and I was told, you're not supposed to do that. You can't do that. You can't go and walk back there to hang out with the band. You've got to come forward and connect with the audience. But they were incredible, fantastic musicians, every one of them, and really nice guys as well. Did they treat you well at the BBC, and was the programme nice for you to do and a good experience? I really enjoyed it. I mean, like I said before, if I hadn't have enjoyed it, I would have walked out. I'm that old, you know. I wouldn't. It wouldn't have bothered me. But the people that were dealing with me were very considerate to all of the acts. It's a difficult balance because they're trying to manage you. The production team are managing you and trying to get you to turn up, and you have to be here, you have to be there. But I'm used to that. I'm actually used to organising my own schedule, if you like, deciding when I can leave and when I get to a gig and how much time I've got and how to travel, and they were helping you out with all of those things. And then you just have to turn up at the right time. learn your stuff, and stand there, do what you do, hopefully best, and then bugger off again. You know, that's all you had to do, and it wasn't difficult. And we were well treated. So that's the bottom line, really.
Good. So let's go back then. We've talked about what happened earlier on in the year. Let's go back in your career. One of the things that I was fascinated by, which to be honest I wish I'd have seen, was the Joni Mitchell project you did. I think, like yourself, Joni had got that tone and that delivery so rare that you never hear anymore. I don't know whether you agree at the minute. There's sort of this Amy Winehouse-esque delivery that everybody seems to sort of have, with this strange positioning of the mouth. In those days, it was just about your tone and your real voice, wasn't it? Why Joni? Did you have an affinity with her?
Well, throughout the years, people have said to me, you sound like such and such a person, you sound like another person, but mostly they would say you sound like Joni Mitchell. I think it's because I'm a singer-songwriter like Joni Mitchell. And, there came a point when I couldn't get much of an audience for my own music. And people had been saying to me, why don't you do a tribute to Joni Mitchell? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And eventually I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And it was very successful. It was an interesting journey, and I did it from 2008 till about 2011. So I did it for a few years, and it's something I might pick up again at some point. There's been various people wanted me to do it again. But I did it with a friend of mine who plays the piano and the dulcimer, because I don't play either of those instruments. And we went out basically as a duo. I found out all of the tunings for many of her songs. So I had four different guitars and different tunings. So I was able to represent a lot of her material as she would have played it. And then my voice isn't that different from Joni Mitchell's in sound, and so I can make my voice sound like hers.
Right. So
it was good fun, and I did it for a while, and people loved it. And then I stopped doing it. As I say, maybe I'll do it again at some point.
It's interesting. I've tried to analyse over the years what's the most important. Is it the words, is it the tune, or is it the singer? I'm still uncertain. I mean, if we look at Frank Sinatra, he was certainly not the greatest singer in the world. If you look at Robbie Williams, he's definitely not the greatest singer in the world. But there's something about their voices that audiences connect with. Have you put your finger on that? What songs work best and why you become a success and maybe somebody else doesn't?
Well, I think I've become successful at the moment because I was on a primetime television show, and I was an individual, and I approached the songs in an individual way as well. I tried to show myself and my techniques through the song and sang as me. I didn't try and sing them like the original artists did. I always tried to present them in my way. One of the things that I feel is important is the tone of your voice. First and foremost, it's your tone, and then it's your delivery. And somebody like Frank Sinatra, it was so definitely his tone and the way he delivered the song. He would sing it way behind the beat. It was almost like he was horizontal. It was so laid back.
Yes.
And I think those two factors are really important. Then it's your pronunciation in a way. It's the way that you use the vowel sounds, the consonant sounds. It's the way you think about. If you think about that as a singer, which is something that I do think about. And as you get older, I think you hone your craft. With a lot of singers, especially when they're younger, is to do with their range. And I think when I was younger, I would definitely show off my range. I've got like a 3.5 octave range, but that was never in evidence on the voice because I didn't need it.
Right.
I didn't need to show off range, and there were other people that were doing that. And I thought, well, the thing that attracted Sir Tom, made him turn around, was the tone of my voice and the way I was emoting through my voice.
I listened to that again last night, your duet with Walking in Memphis. And again, the way you did it was so different to how it had ever been done before, certainly that I'd heard. But when you hear his voice again, from that first note, he's just got it, hasn't he? I mean, he is the epitome of X Factor. That voice is so distinctive, and nobody else could sing that song like he did.
I think the British version, the UK version of The Voice, has the voice sitting there as one of the coaches.
Right.
He actually has a voice which came out of the coal fields, if you like, in Wales, and he has been himself all the way through. He sings like himself. And I did 3 gigs supporting him over the summer. Huge gigs, like 14,000 people. And he sang for nearly 2 hours on every night I saw him anyway, and I'm sure he did that on the other gigs as well. And he's still got that voice. Yeah. And he's 74.
I know, I saw him in Vegas a couple of years ago in an NGM showroom, tiny showroom. I think there were 700 people. And again, he could have been in an arena. The voice is just stunning and so powerful, isn't it? When you're competing with that in a duet, where do you even start?
Well, first of all, it's not a competition.
Right.
Even when I did my battle, for me, it was never a competition. I'm not into... That was the only thing that I found difficult about the whole programme, because you're constantly pitted up against people, and I would never accept that was the case. I always did my own thing, ploughed my own furrow, and if that got me through, that was great. If not, then good luck to everybody else. And when I was singing with Sir Tom, I mean, that was the highlight of my musical career.
Really?
To sing with a star like that.
Yeah.
And it was just fabulous. I absolutely loved it. And what I was trying to do was to try to complement what he was doing. But I've only, if you watch it, you sit there and watch it, I've just got a huge grin on my face. I'm like a Cheshire cat. I just loved it. And to be in such close proximity as him whilst he was singing was something special as well.
But especially when you look at his CV and you see who he's sung with and who he is comparing you to. I mean, from the Dusty Springfields to Cilla Black, he's sung with them all. And the fact that he chose you and rated you so highly, not only did he put you on the show, but decided to take you on tour as well. I don't think there's any greater compliment or affirmation for an artist like yourself, is there?
Not at all, no. I'm absolutely thrilled to have been associated with him, definitely.
What a blessed life and a blessed career. So we've talked about the past. What about the future? You've got your new album coming out the 22nd of September, and you'll keep touring, gigging and gagging and keeping people enjoying your music.
Yes, for as long as I can until I fall over. The album that's coming out on the 22nd is actually a re-released album. It's an album that I put together and released in 2003. Unfortunately, that was the year that my husband died, so it didn't get reviewed, it didn't get played or anything. So that's been re-released by a record company, and there's a couple of extra tracks on it which are songs from The Voice, but I've recorded them in my way, if you like, with a full band, but in my way. The song Dear Darling is on there, and To Love Somebody, which I sang at the quarterfinals.
Well, it's a beautiful album. It's so listenable, as are you, and you've got such a talent and such a gift, and it's been my pleasure talking to you today. Sally Barker's new album is out on the 22nd of September. You can find out more at sallybarker.co.uk. Thank you so much for talking to me, Sally. Really nice to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.